Playa Linda Beach there, excited, getting ready for this. As are we, the Starlink 12-12 mission. This booster, B-1067, set to make a record 25th flight. That would be the most of any SpaceX booster up to today. And now at 4.5 minutes, the strongback should be retracting away from the vehicle. So the strongback, it's a little hard to see from this angle, but there is a metallic structure that is kind of along the backside of it. And that strongback, Cody, doesn't retract away very far.
No, it just retracts a few degrees from the vehicle right before launch here. Now that tower structure is actually used to transport, you have your electrical cables and data connections, as well as the fuel for fueling the second stage there. And so it just leans back ever so slightly to get out of the way of the vehicle for launch there.
There you go, yes. So that will unclamp away from underneath the payload fairings, lean back to 1.8 degrees, and then throw back completely at launch. So it is a very important piece of hardware. And while 1.8 degrees might not seem like a lot, when you're flying as much as you are from this launch pad, it's a way to try and save some of the infrastructure. As you mentioned, all those different pipes, connections, and lines and things that have to go through it, which are also retracted right at launch.
Yeah, I mean, we see with Starship the importance of ground support infrastructure for vehicles. They're almost as complex as the actual vehicles that are launching. So it's very important to protect those from the heat and the vibrations of launch to make sure that you can quickly reuse the pad for another vehicle.
Exactly. Now, as we get ready for the launch of these 8 Starlink V2 mini satellites and 13 direct to cell enabled Starlink satellites here, what are we expecting in these last 2.5 minutes?
So in these last 2.5 minutes, we're going to see that the stage two LOX load
Stage 1
is going to
lock load
finish
complete.
up here. Oh, I think I just heard
There's
it
stage
there.
one.
Oh, stage one, yes. And then we're going to see stage two LOX load complete here in a second, a little bit further along than the first stage there. Then at T-1 minute, we're going to have Falcon 9 go into startup, where the flight computers start to take full control of the vehicle. And then also at T-1 minute, the propellant tanks will become fully pressurized, reach their flight pressures. At T-45, the launch director will verify go for launch. At T-3 seconds, we'll see the T-tab, the green flash there at the bottom of the vehicle as they ignite the Merlin engines, and then they'll let it go.
There we go. You can see the vehicle with the frost on it from those super chilled propellants inside the tanks. That is completely normal and expected on this booster, especially in contrast to all the soot for this being its
Stage 2 lock
25th
load
flight.
complete.
And as you mentioned there, the liquid oxygen is now loaded completely into stage 2. So that means this vehicle is fully fueled ahead of launch. So you may see one more small vent. There it is, similar to the T-20 minute vent as they do a final purge of the lines there. Basically, you don't want any
Ground
oxygen
gas
left over
closeout.
in there. And that is the gas closeouts there, as we're talking about, because fire plus remaining extra oxygen could be bad, which we don't want that. So the next call that we should hear at T-1 minute is Falcon 9 entering startup. Let's listen in for that.
Falcon
Should
9 is
hear
in
that
startup.
any second. There we go. Falcon 9 is in startup. That means the tanks are now being pressurized to their final flight levels, and the computer now has onboard control of the countdown. So next that we should be listening for is the go for launch from the launch director. There we go. We are go for launch. We are now about 30 seconds away from liftoff of Falcon 9 and this booster's 25th flight. We will, of course, stop talking once it launches. Just beware we're a couple miles away, so the sound may take a couple of seconds to actually get to our microphones. We're now just about 10 seconds away from launch. So keep an eye out for the exhaust from the base of the rocket as we get engine ignition, hopefully. There is ignition and liftoff of Starlink 12-12 as a booster sets a brand new record, 25 flights.
out at the perfectly wrong time, and it's moving in the direction with the rocket.
There we go. Everything looking great. Seeing the pressure cone, the vapor cone there, passing through max Q, maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. So now we have about 45 more seconds until the next major events. You could see there as we get to the thinner parts of the atmosphere, that plume expanding. Cody, what can we expect next?
So next up, we're going to see a quick succession of events here, where well, our first stage is going to be out of fuel, so we're going to switch over to our second stage here, where the first and second stage will separate, and then we'll have our first stage. Well, first, our first stage is going to cut off its engine. We'll then separate the first and second stage, and the second engine will start up for that burn, and then shortly after that, fairing deployment will occur.
So that looks like Miko, main engine cutoff, those 9 Merlin engines shutting down. Next up, as you mentioned, will be the stage separation. So let's see that from SpaceX's cameras here. And there's SEP. And now on the right side, keep an eye on that engine there. That is the Merlin vacuum engine. And that engine is igniting. That is what we want to see. So that is known as SES-1, second engine start 1. So called because there will be another burn later into flight. But this is the main one to get it into that initial orbit. You can see the grid fins deploying on the first stage. Those will help the vehicle steer once it gets into the thicker parts of the atmosphere. And on the right there, those fairings should jettison any second. And there we go. That looks like a good separation of the payload fairings. As mentioned earlier, those will splash down into the ocean and be recovered. So far, Cody, everything looks pretty good, huh?
Oh yeah, beautiful to see the Earth there below with all the spotted clouds. I love seeing the grid fin deployment. I just love how almost chaotic it is during stage separation. Lots of stuff happening with beautiful views of the Earth down below.
It's really a great contrast to it, that's for sure.
Mhm.
And of course, we have a normal sized second stage Merlin vacuum engine. We like to joke about that versus a stubby engine, which is a different type of engine build that they used, which uses less material to create, but to be able to make them faster, but does have less performance. For these Starlinks, they need all that performance, right?
Yeah. So they're going to go with the longer nozzle, which contains the gases a little bit more in the vacuum of space. So you'll notice that vacuum engines actually have a much larger nozzle than sea level engines because of at sea level there's all that pressure, but out in space there's not that pressure. So they need to make sure that's expanding well. So yeah, for more efficiency, they have that longer nozzle there.
And now, as we come up on just about 5 minutes into flight, everything looking good so far. Again, you can see the little puffs on the left side of your screen. Those are the cold gas jet thrusters. Basically, little maneuvering thrusters that are just helping to keep this booster on its path. And a reminder, Cody, which drone ship are we landing on today?
I believe it is just read the instructions. Let me pull up the fact sheet just to make sure here.
You're right.
Yes, it is just read the instructions.
Exactly. So this booster has now hit the successful launch number of 25 launches. That is an all time record for SpaceX boosters. That is B1067 25. Will it earn the Dash 26 with the landing? We will see. Of course, before the actual landing, we need to have the entry burn. That will be coming up in just a couple of seconds here, which should start off with one engine and then go all the way up to 3 engines during that fire. And we always like to say, Cody, right, that it fights fire with fire to help slow it down.
Yes, the supersonic retro propulsion, fighting fire with fire. Awesome technology developed by NASA to try and land things on Mars. Now being used here to recover first stages. Awesome to see. One of the most metal things ever.
Well, it's pretty fiery. It's not so much metal.
Oh.
Anyway, here comes that entry burn. And this burn is usually about 20-ish seconds. You see it starts with one and then it goes to the three engines. The easiest way to tell that it's all three engines lit is because you'll see what kind of looks like a line there, sort of a square line type structure. That's the three engines that are ignited. And then you'll see it drop down to one and then down to zero. You could see also soot building up there on the camera. That's totally normal. And that looks like shutdown of the entry burn. So far, so good. You could see there on the bottom left now the altitude dropping very quickly on that first stage. Meanwhile, on the bottom right, the speed and altitude continuing to climb on that second stage, which is exactly what we want to see. So for the Starlink missions, we have the landing of the first stage first, followed shortly thereafter by SECO, which is second engine cutoff, when they turn off that Merlin vacuum engine that you see on the right side of your screen. In the meantime, keep an eye on the left. You will start to see those grid fins activate. You'll see one more engine burn, and then hopefully landing on just read the instructions, which would mark 25 landings for this booster. So that will be coming up very shortly here. See if we can start to see the drone ship even showing up in the feed there. Definitely see everything starting to shake. That's normal. Just 2 kilometers off the deck. You could see the drone ship just underneath the grid fin there. And there we go. That is the landing burn. There is just read the instructions below it. Waiting for landing leg deploy. There it is. And touchdown! We have a new fleet leader and a new record. Booster 1067 launching and landing 25 times. Congratulations, B1067 26. Holy smokes, it did it.
It's incredible that they're able to reuse boosters just that many times. It boggles my mind.
Wow, yeah, that's coming up to space shuttle numbers here in terms of number of reflights. Unbelievable. And there is SECO 1 second engine cutoff. That is shutdown of the Merlin vacuum engine. Wow. Max, how was that from your perspective?
I mean, it's tough to ask for any better viewing conditions than what we had today. It was absolutely stunning. I hope you guys noticed in the shot, but a bird, I think it was a crane, like picked the exact perfect time to fly right through frame as Falcon 9 was ascending. Like it could not have worked out any better for timing. Um, but normally these flights don't look any different from the outside, whether it's flown twice or 25 times, unless something goes wrong, unfortunately, which thankfully none has today, at least from what we can see. But beautiful as always, and we're always happy to see Falcon 9 fly.
Absolutely. And how was the sound on this one for you?
I knew you were going to ask me, but I was going to try. I was going to refrain from comment, especially after the bereavement of comments from the last stream. But crisp as always. I mean, you really can tell a difference. I think Slick 40 from where we are is about 4.5 miles away, and from 39A from where we normally have cameras, that's around a little under 3.5. And then just in that 1 mile difference, you actually can tell a massive difference. Falcon 9 launches from Pad A are a lot stronger and a lot more sharp in the way that their sound hits you. Whereas from Slick 40, the sound it's still incredibly strong, but it's not as sharp. I guess it sounds more muffled, of course, because that sound has a lot more atmosphere to travel through. So, but it never gets old. Sorry, like cliche saying, it never gets old.
It's true though. Again, no matter how many of these you see, it does not get old. You'd think, oh, it's another Falcon 9. It's no big deal. Each of them has so many unique little aspects to it, little quirks, that it's never the same. It's like, was this one louder? Oh, this one has more punch. This one has more echo. This one was brighter. This one, again, you get a crane perfectly flying into frame. So those little things. And speaking of little things, you can notice little by little, the strongback is actually going up. It is already going up right again at pad 40 so that they can get ready for the next flight. Let's see. We are working on pulling replays here. So if you want to see some of the awesome shots that we got here, stay tuned for that, including the always popular, always beloved D slow mo. So I'm excited to see that one, especially with the people on the beach, despite the unfortunate cloud timing there. Let's see. Also, Chris P gifting 25 red team memberships. Holy smokes, Chris! Thank you
Wow.
so very, very much. Gifting 20, followed by another 5. It's so generous. Thank you very much for all the love during this stream. Apocalypse Cow, thank you for also gifting 5 red team memberships. Danger Move. We very much appreciate it. The love from you guys is great here, and definitely appreciate everyone joining the membership program. And again, hopefully you'll get some awesome perks from everything, with some cool pictures, and then some members multi-views, especially with Starship Flight 7 coming up. We are also keeping a very close eye on Starbase for potential wet dress rehearsal testing today. If that does happen, we will of course go live with that. Also, that was supposed to launch today. I know there was questions about New Glenn. Uh, Max, with the weather this nice, why couldn't they launch Blue Origin's New Glenn today?
Well, various reasons. They couldn't, or well, rephrase. Words are hard. There are various reasons why they couldn't have launched today or this morning, I should say. They chose not to launch during the day because I don't know. It would have been nice to see. It would have been nice to see New Glenn fly during the daytime for the first time. But their primary concern for the window that would have been this morning was the weather in the recovery area, and so that was not great. I think seas were peaking around, just from data from buoys we've seen, waves were peaking around, I want to say 10 to 14 feet, which is suboptimal even just for being in the area in general, let alone trying to catch a massive first stage booster on a drone ship. And that remains their primary concern going into the window on Sunday morning. So, albeit it does look better, and if they want to delay 24 hours more, the forecast in the zone in the landing zone, forgive me, looks even better then. So that is primarily why Blue Origin has not launched New Glenn to this point, at least from this perspective.
There you go. Yeah. So that's something we'll be keeping an eye on. Of course, you can follow us on all of our socials, and we will continue to update you there on everything related to New Glenn and Blue Origin, in addition to all of the testing down at Starbase, so you know when that starts. We are on X, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. As long as it's still around in the US for the next couple of weeks, we are on TikTok, all of those. So check out NASA Spaceflight on all the socials, including Blue Sky, I believe, now too. So lots of cool stuff to check us out there on socials as we continue to wait for these awesome replays coming momentarily here. In the meantime, we can continue to answer a couple more questions. I also just need to point out Keith Tegg, who said that was the coolest Falcon 9 yet because it has been chilled more times than any other Falcon 9.
Wow.
Oh no.
Wow.
What do you
How
mean?
many
That's pretty good.
How many jokes is that? How many puns is that this stream? It's too many.
Not enough. Not enough. Also, that one wasn't me. I gave credit where credit is due. I did not come up with that one, although I appreciate it. Let's see. Also, Ben was asking, was there anything different with the upper stage plumbing? Was it a wider lens? Cody, I didn't notice any differences, did you?
I didn't really either. It just looked like a normal long nozzle second stage there.
Yes, the good engine, exactly.
The good engine.
No, but yeah, we are used to seeing the plumbing on there. That venting and everything is totally normal also, right?
Yeah. So you see, there's a couple like things on the motor that might seem a little odd, like the Mylar blanket used to insulate the motor from the sun, and venting there on there. But overall, it looked pretty normal. I even saw a little bit of ice buildup that you normally see on the motor, just kind of resting there as it was burning, and that too was pretty normal.
I do have to say though, they actually upgraded cameras on the upper stage. Maybe I want to say anywhere from like 4 to 6 months ago, and so that's why if you're not a regular watcher, you will notice that, especially during the daytime, the image quality coming from the upper stage is spectacular.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest difference is we haven't had a good daytime launch to really see it where it's been super clear and super bright. And that one with the contrast of the clouds behind it made it super easy to see the extra venting and the extra camera quality. So shout out to SpaceX for continuing to upgrade the cameras, even though these seem a little bit more quote unquote normal, which is still weird to say for a rocket launch. Oh, it's just another normal Starlink launch. But that's why I always like to say it's not your ordinary, because it isn't. Also,
I
it's
remember. Oh,
go ahead.
I remember when this was the dream for me when I first became a spaceflight fan. It's like, oh, I want a launch to happen every week. And now it's a reality. We're getting more than one launch a week. And it's just mind blowing to me that over the course of not a very long time, the launch market has just exploded. And it's weird how this is the new norm.
I'm okay with it. I'm very okay with it. More launches, more better. And again, we are continuing to get those replays up for you here. So stay with us. You'll get to see the awesome views of launch from all of our different cameras. And don't forget, you can also check out live views 24/7 of the Cape from Space Coast Live, where we have our fleet cameras, we have our Cape cameras, our KSC cameras, all taking a look at the action going on, including the work going on for Mobile Launcher 2, including all of the preparations ahead of New Glenn, ahead of including them removing a Falcon 9 booster that just rolled into port today from the drone ship just a short time ago. So all of that is available 24/7 to watch. Uh, Ship 33 is asking, do you think Falcon 9 will continue to launch smaller missions even when Starship is fully active, or will Starship completely replace Falcon 9? Cody?
I think that Falcon 9 has a very good niche in the launch market right now. And I don't think that necessarily a larger vehicle such as Starship will immediately replace it. If you look at Starship right now, they don't really have a way of deploying larger payloads. They would need to design a large door. Right now, it's designed to launch Starlink satellites, which I think is a great first step there. But until they get a larger, a fast enough launch cadence to lower the cost and a way to deploy payloads, I think that Falcon 9 is going to still exist for quite a while.
Yeah, and they've SpaceX has said that eventually the plan is to phase it out, but that's eventually down the line once Starship is more operational. For the time being, I don't see there being any shortage in number of Falcon 9 flights. As you mentioned, there's not really that many vehicles that have that capability and that launch cadence yet. That will, of course, continue to grow as there are more providers and as they get more launches under their belt. Uh, Also, given that right now it is the vehicle that is crew rated to be able to launch Dragon to ISS. So at least till 2030, they're going to need it for that. So that alone will keep it busy. It also has all of the approval already for Department of Defense and other secretive payloads, shall we say, for the U.S. military. So I think that's a huge asset under its belt. And I believe we should have these replays up for you just a second here. Take a look back at this launch. And also, there has been an enormous amount of support coming in for people in the shop, getting all of the Flight 7 patches. Thank you so much to everyone for those. I'm going to scroll through some of those as we continue to watch the replays here on screen of today's Starlink 12-12 launch and the 25th flight of B-1076. Again, it's a little harder to see in the day sometimes because you don't get the awesome glow, but you still get amazing views.
Yeah, I'd say I prefer daytime launches here. I mean, being able to see the entire vehicle, even though the light.
Muita gente começa no automobilismo virtual com um controle. O problema é que no controle a gente não consegue aplicar algumas técnicas de pilotagem.